Hi there, my name is Cassie. I'm a violin teacher, and today I'm going to give you some strategies to learn songs on your own. So I'm going to refer to the songs in the String Explorer book on page 12 and also posted in the description below. So if you don't have a String Explorer book, you can print out the PDF from the description. So go get your violin and your String Explorer book or print out the PDF in the description, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So get your violin ready and either get out your String Explorer book or get the PDF of page 12. So let's look at the second song on page 12, which is Ode to Joy, or number 35, and it's also right at the bottom of the screen here. So when you're first learning a song, there are two things you need to notice right at the beginning, and that is the time signature and the key signature. And fortunately, on page 12, all the songs have the same time signature, 4/4, and the same key signature of D major. And I just have that written right here to remind you. So we're going to look at the time signature in a second, but D major, what that means is that it has an F sharp and a C sharp, and all the other notes are natural. Or you can also think of it as it has the notes of D major scale. So let's just review D major scale so we can remember what those notes are. But before we do, I want you to look at these fingerboard pictures. So what these pictures are showing you is where the whole steps and the half steps are for the notes of D major scale. So what does that mean? So the whole steps are the big spaces. So if you can notice on my violin, we can see, and the same as the fingerboard in the picture, we have a big space between the nut of my violin and the first finger. That's a whole step space. And then we have another big space between the first finger and the second finger on my violin. So that's a whole step space. And then we have a small space between the second finger and the third finger, and that's a half step space. So you want to make sure that you're using those. If you have the tapes, you want to follow your tapes, or if you don't, really use your ear. But you can also physically just notice where your big spaces or your whole steps and your small spaces or your half steps are. Okay, so I'm going to take those little arrows away. Let's do D major scale together. And you can do arco if you want, or pizzicato with me. You probably don't have to hold your violin up like this, but you can if you want. But let's try our D major scale together. Okay, so we're going to do D. And then first finger is E, that's your whole step space. Second finger, F sharp. Third finger, G. And then you're going to cross to the A string. A. First finger, B. Second finger, C sharp. Third finger, D. And then let's play the D again. And then we're going to lift that third finger and we go back to C sharp. Lift the second finger, go back to B, and then lift the first finger, open A, and then put all your fingers down, 1, 2, 3, or if you can, boom, all the fingers down at once. Make sure that you still have your whole step and your half step spaces though. And then we're going to play G, lift that third finger, F sharp, lift the second finger, E, and then lift the first finger, D. So there's your D major scale. Okay, so the time signature that we talked about a little bit before is right here, and we can see that it is 4/4. And the 4 on the top tells us to count to 4, and the 4 on the bottom tells us that the quarter note is the beat, or what we are counting. So just take a second and notice that all the songs are on page 12 are in 4/4 time. Okay, so when learning a new piece, it really helps us start with the rhythm. And the best way to do this is to clap it and say it and really try to feel it in your body by moving with it. This will help you to focus on the difficulties of the violin when you start playing the piece. So Ode to Joy has two types of rhythmic values. It has a lot of quarter notes, which you can see right here. And quarter notes get one beat, and we say ta for them. And then it also has some eighth notes, which you see here, and you also see them over here. And eighth notes, there are two eighth notes in one beat, and we say TT for the eighth notes. The other thing that Ode to Joy has is some quarter rests. So quarter rests also get one beat, and we want to move our hands out when we're feeling, and we want to really feel that when we're moving it. So we want to feel the ta, ta, and feel the rest, but we don't say anything or clap for the rest. Okay, so there's also a lot of repetition. So in order to not get lost when we're clapping and saying the rhythms, and also to really feel the rhythms, let's rock our bodies and clap a little louder at the beginning of the bar. So that would be something like this. So we have bars of 4. So that means we clap louder every 4 beats. So ta, 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 ta. That's an example. Okay, so we're going to start by counting 1 bar of 4 together. This is called a bar for nothing, only it's not for nothing because it helps us feel the time for the rest of the song. So I'm going to say ready, go, and we'll count to 4 together before clapping and saying the rhythms in Ode to Joy. Okay, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, 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 ti ti ta, 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 ti ti ta, 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 ta. So the next thing to do is to look for repetitions. We've definitely found some rhythmic repetition. Let's see if there is also melodic repetition. So we can see that the first 3 bars are exactly the same as measures 5, 6, and 7. So they sound kind of like this. F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, D, D, E, F sharp. And then the next part's different, so I didn't go on. Measures 4, and the last group of the second, the 5, 6, and 7, measure 8, are different. So measure 4 goes like this. F sharp, E, E, rest. And measure 8 goes like this. E, D, D, rest. So another really big repetition, you may have already noticed because they're stacked on top of each other, that's a hint, is the last 4 measures or bars. And measure 5, 6, and 7, they are exactly the same. So once you learn measure 5, 6, and 7, these ones, F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, D, D, E, F sharp, E, D, D. You know half of the song. It's pretty cool. Okay, so the only part that is really different is measures 9, 10, 11, and 12, starting at the beginning of the second line. It's the only part with eighth notes, and it has a completely different melody than the rest of the song. So this brings us to my final tip for learning a new piece on your own. You want to find the difficult part or parts, figure out what makes them difficult, and give them lots of attention. So work on them at least 3 times more than the rest of the piece. We're going to look at the difficult part in Ode to Joy, talk about why it is difficult and how we can practice it. So when I've taught Ode to Joy in the past, there's always the most struggle right around measures 10 and 11. So right here, right on that second line. And I'm just gonna play them so you have a reference. They go like this. Okay, so there's 3 reasons for this, which I've written right here on the screen. The first is really simple. So most students just play songs straight through without spending more time on the difficult parts. In Ode to Joy, all the other parts of the song have repetitions, as we've just seen. So if you practice the song straight through, you're actually practicing the easy part 3 times rather than the difficult part, which needs more attention. So the second reason is that measure 10 and 11 are the only measures with 8th notes. 8th notes are twice as fast as quarter notes, and students often panic and play them either too fast, like this, or they use too much bow or too slow a bow and play them too slowly, like this. Okay, so how can we avoid this? The way to avoid this problem is to feel the rhythm in your body. So if you find you're struggling with the 8th notes here, or in any of the other songs, clap and say the rhythm, and then come back to trying and to play it on the violin. Another thing you can do is play the rhythm on an open string, or better yet, do all 3. So let's do all 3 right now. So you want to get your violin and set it aside, because we're going to clap first. And we're going to do our bar for nothing. So I'm going to say, ready, go, and then we're going to count to 4 together, and then we're going to clap with our tas and our TTs. Just those 2 bars. Okay. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Okay, now get your violin, get into playing position, and we're going to play that same thing on the D string. And you can also try and say the tas and the TTs here too. Same bar for nothing. Okay, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Okay, now let's try to add the notes. Same thing with our bar for nothing. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Okay, so one more little tip about bowing. When you're playing faster notes, in this case 8th notes, you need to play with a faster bow speed or less bow, or better yet, a combination of the 2. So if you're struggling with 8th note rhythms or any kind of faster rhythm, number 1, make sure you're feeling the rhythm in your body. And number 2, notice your bow speed and how much bow you're using. Okay, so the third reason that measure 10 and 11 are more challenging than the rest of the piece is that they're almost the same. It's only the last note that is different in each bar. So both measures start with the notes E, F sharp, G, F sharp, so like this. But measure 10 ends on D, and measure 11 ends on E. So if you're not aware of this repetition, it's confusing, but as soon as you're aware of it, it becomes an aid in learning the song. Because once you know measure 10, you also know measure 11. You just need to change the last note. Through this video, you should have the tools to learn all of the songs on page 12 on your own. And I'm going to play a demo of each of them in just a moment to help you out. But first, let's recap what we talked about. So number 1, know the key signature and then play the scale that goes with it before you start learning the piece. So all of the songs on page 12 are in D major. So before you start learning each piece on page 12, you want to play the D major scale. Okay, number 2, Know the time signature, how many beats are in the bar, or what you count for each bar. Again, all of the songs on page 12 are in 4/4 time. So remember to start each piece, each time you play it, by counting a bar for nothing, and make sure to feel the rhythm in your body. Okay, number 3, look for repetitions. Notice how things repeat and get inspired by what you already know. Number 4, look for the difficult parts, figure out why they're difficult, and give them at least 3 times as much attention as the rest of the piece. If you follow these 4 steps for learning any song, you'll have a much easier time, and I think you're also going to have more fun because it won't be a struggle. Okay, so I'm going to start with Ode to Joy, and I want you to notice that there's a repeat. So I'm going to play it 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the first one on the page, Jingle Bells, number 34. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now I'm going to move down to Chanuka Chanuka, number 36. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now the last one on the page, Are You Sleeping? Number 37. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I want to show you guys something really cool about Are You Sleeping? So Are You Sleeping can be played as a canon or a round. So what that means is you can play it with another person as a duet by starting at different times in the piece. So in Are You Sleeping, the first person plays 2 bars and then the second person starts. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I hope that these tips were helpful and you have fun learning these songs. Until next time, bye-bye.